Parents continue to seek justice.
Prosecuting online where only working this lack and passing.
Kina Group acquires Maybank.
The successful acquisition of Maybank.
And landowners identified for LNG royalties.
This is National EMTV News with Vanessa Knight.
Good evening, I'm Vanessa Knight with Thursday's news. Parents of the 5-year-old girl who was raped by adult men early last month are still looking for avenues apart from the Madang police to bring the perpetrators to justice. They have now resorted to the Madang Provincial Council of Women for help and direction.
All no operate mem all sama pimenta solo clean mem no tembi plakat straight no sama pim. Em sama pim tranga merem no kai kai. Em stapos migo 6 pla day no kai kai. Staplo warata.
After many attempts, the toddler's parents are turning to the Madang Provincial Council of Women for help and directions to go about prosecuting the perpetrators.
They were frustrated because all you go long hap, all Salimol go long hap, Salimol go long hap, no Panimol, they couldn't get any help. So they came down to the office, and as the lead agency for Family Sexual Violence Action Committee, which we are partner with the CIMC, Mipla open him legal office long look out him all kind of. So when they came down, I could see they were already drained on the face. You can see that they're only tired pinisna, only hamamas.
Ms. Kamang comforted the child's parents and promised to help them take the matter to the next level.
Because of the networking and partnership we have with the FSVAC in Madang, we were able to pick up the phone and ring the hospital, ask him all how sick long only can help him long look him and make him report quick time long him. Na two got partner want them all private clinics in town where got online where we worked with them before, and that relationship we continue to build the relationship want them all. So me ask him all Dr. Blongolo come down long office blong me and we can work him medical examinations.
Kamang is calling on all agencies concerned to step in and make cases like this an issue loud enough to be addressed.
They will resort into compensation. So the rape is a criminal act. Also, people like him by prosecuting online where only work him this like and passing them, good plus. They are our children. People come up in the slow picking him, must look out him all good. Instead, people walk long, violating rights, long all picking in, to picking in, talk na, people bagarap all picking.
The Consultative Implementation and Monitoring Council, or CIMC, has also condemned the act of raping minors.
When it comes to gender-based violence, it is gender-based violence, and the new police commissioner is actually advocating for police to actually make sure that if it's a criminal case, if it's a family and sexual violence issue, there should be no barriers to actually have that survivor seek justice.
He's also appealing to the police, especially the Sexual Violence Unit, to work together with responsible agencies for support to make sure justice is served.
If someone is actually raped, it's a criminal offense, and the holistic approach to that would be having all the relevant stakeholders such as the RRPNGC and also civil societies to actually come together to address the issue. There is no organization that is an island, and the basic rights of peoples to access justice, a fair trial, whether found guilty or not, we should actually advocate for that.
Meanwhile, the Madang police are yet to confirm if the suspects of the rape have been apprehended. Rachel Shite, National EMTV News, Madang.
One Malay family has been evicted in a case that is resoundingly similar to another that occurred in June. Security guards and police arrived at the 3rd Street home and ordered the family out of their home after the house had been reportedly sold off to a buyer.
Early yesterday, Agnes Wafi and her family were ordered out of their home. They were served with an eviction order delivered by police and National Housing Corporation officers.
Morning all come inside now, housing come inside now. All cutting all get the flowers are the house not start up more something all bagarapi more something, so this like making me upset nam blan feel hamamas to stop at.
All to all by victim me bla rausi me bla lo house lo 2nd Street na oli puti me bla lo narap la house lo kasawari. But mibla tok nokat.
The details of this particular case aren't clear at this point, but what we do know is that there's an existing court battle and an appeal by the family relating to the eviction.
So now the morning, police come give me talk. All expected to have them to come down. Explain it to something. If not, tomorrow will come and move evict them and move them out.
Last night, the family spent the night outside as it rained. This is the latest in a series of evictions that have happened this year. In a similar case in July, a former NHC employee was evicted after the house she was living in was sold. The buyer is a lay businessman who didn't want to be named. He told MTV he had bought the property 2 years ago after making an offer to the National Housing Corporation. The corporation maintains it has the right to sell off its properties, but the manner in which those properties are being sold has been a cause for concern amongst lay residents. Scott White, National MTV News, Lay.
Minister for Communications and Information, Jimmy Miring Toro, has indicated important reforms to cross-media ownership laws in PNG in the upcoming Parliament session. Minister Miring Toro is concerned at the way NRL broadcast rights were removed from a free-to-air television station, which he says is a move that leaves a lot of unanswered questions. He said there is growing concern that competition in the communications sector could be crushed if large foreign companies begin to monopolize the market. Minister Miring Toro said cross-media ownership structures need to be clearly defined so that competition is ensured in our country, and this will deliver better media services to the people. The National Department of Health strengthened its relationship with St. John Ambulance in a new Memorandum of Agreement today. Health Secretary Pascal Casses says the MOA reinforces the goal to provide essential services to the people of Port Moresby and other provinces. The MOA was signed at the St. John Ambulance headquarters this morning.
The signing of the MOA comes a month after St. John Ambulance ceased its operations due to financial constraints. This MOA will see the Health Department open its funding books to support St. John's operations. Health Secretary Pascal Casses says despite a major cutback on funding from the national government, priority will be given to St. John's because of the essential services provided.
We are very thankful to St. John for the support that they have been giving to our people in NCD and Central Province. Despite a lot of challenges, there are times that funding from the department are slow. That's part of the system that we have known.
Secretary Pascoe, meanwhile, sounded a warning to all government and private health facilities which receive funding from the department to spend wisely.
And generally there will be some reductions in the budgets for next year. So I will encourage the management and the council to do a bit of belt tightening to make sure that we prioritize our activities.
St. John carries a brand name outside the country but does not receive funding from abroad. Board council member Sir Ramon Tirot says its operations depend entirely on financial support where it operates.
It's got to be self-funding, so we've got to rely upon what we can raise within Papua New Guinea to give the services that we do. We try and wherever possible, of course, to give these services for free.
In the meantime, the Health Secretary made it clear that the St. John managed facility at Geru is now under the government's management. Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
The Kina Group successfully completed their transaction of the Maybank acquisition in Port Moresby, making the new Kina Bank the fourth largest commercial bank in the country. Central Bank Governor Loy Bakani made the announcement with the Maybank Regional Director Hazri Rohilio Hood and Kina Security CEO CD Yates yesterday. Michelle Bird with more.
The new bank will now be aptly called Kina Bank. Governor of the Bank of Papua New Guinea, Loy Bakani, thanked both financial parties for their due diligence during the acquisition process, which took 3 months and cost Kina Securities 353 million Kina.
I think today marks another milestone in the history and vibrant movement in the financial system in Papua New Guinea, where we've been working through this process
tirelessly for the last so many months to get to where we are today in getting the Kina Bank Limited taking over Maybank PNG Limited. Today has been marked as the heyday, the most important day to mark the takeover. So in fulfilling the requirements of our central bank, requirements under the Banks Financial Institution Act, and of course Kina being a listed company on the Port Moresby Stock Exchange, they have a requirement to make the announcement today. From where we are, central bank point of view, in fulfilling the requirements of that takeover, we will put out a public notice, a gazette notice, that advising the public that the Kina Group Limited has taken possession of the license that previously belongs to Maybank PNG Limited.
CEO of Kina Securities, Sid Yates, confirmed that all 7 of the Kina Finance branches around the country will be converted into operating commercial banks and will introduce new products and services over time.
Following on from our successful listing on the ASX and POMSOX, we're pleased to announce that we've today made the successful acquisition of Maybank Papua New Guinea, and Kina will now become the 4th largest bank in PNG. The acquisition enhances Kina's existing position as the leading financial services company in Papua New Guinea. We're already a large fund manager with 5.3 billion Kina under management. We have over 159,000 members in our fund administration. We're the leading stockbroker in Papua New Guinea, and we're one of the biggest in our asset and equipment lending business.
This will now allow existing Kina Finance and Maybank customers to open bank accounts with the Kina Bank and have access to the complete range of products and services. Michelle Bird, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Task Force Sweep Chairman Sam Koim has described Papua New Guinea as being above the law and sending out a negative international image. This comes after Australian lawyers Gregory Egan and Terry Lambert were denied entry into the country to represent the anti-corruption body. The ban is also described by PNG's Law Society as disturbing. President Peter Kuman said the ban may be viewed as an attempt to pervert the course of justice. The Law Society said the underlying concern is that both lawyers represent ongoing court proceedings relating to Prime Minister O'Neill's arrest warrant. The Immigration Office has responded saying the lawyers were prevented because they have been entering the country with business visas, however, engaging in employment. An attempt to arrest anti-corruption investigators Matthew Damaru, Timothy Gitua, and lawyer McRonald Nale has failed. The Waigani District Court adjourned the application filed by officer in charge of the Special Police investigation. It was for granting of orders to arrest and charge these individuals for committing the crime of perjury. The officers are party to the proceedings in the Prime Minister's arrest warrant case. Chairman of Investigation Task Force Sweep Sam Koim condemned the actions taken by the police officers.
They are now trying to successfully removed our lawyers or banned them from entering the country. Now they are after the very lawyer that we have left to attend to our cases. They have terminated 2 officers already. Now they are trying to attack the director of the fraud squad, who is also at the forefront of this. This is a desperate attempt to obliterate this team.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has questioned the motive of the complaint submitted by Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare to the Ombudsman Commission. In a statement, Mr. O'Neill said the events that took place in 2011 were because of Somare not being honest about the seriousness of his illness and his lengthy absence as the Prime Minister of the country. He said the vacancy in the Prime Minister's position was established through parliamentary process, thereby allowing Parliament to conduct an election for the Prime Minister. Mr. O'Neill said Parliament has dealt with this within its mandate and the decisions of Parliament are not subject to the Leadership Code. Mr. O'Neill said if Sir Michael thinks he has a case to present to the people, his opportunity will come again in 2017. PNG landowners' identification process conducted by alternate dispute resolution team has identified 46 clans in Angore. These clans have now selected each chairman to represent their interest in the LNG project. The resource owners from Petroleum Development License Area 8 will now be pursuing their interest to secure all benefits like the business development grant of 12 million Kina.
After the mediation process, 13 clans have been identified as the principal landowners of the 3 wellheads in Angore. Today in Port Moresby, the ILG leaders expressed satisfaction at how the mediation was conducted.
I think government must fund this money and make sure that the process must complete in the right way. Also, Papa Grant will benefit good rule of being time. Because Mbla looking was this idea and good law, something where can carry benefit the Papa Grant, through Papa Grant.
Through this idea process, I'm filtering landowner leadership. Those all main plaintiffs law can court inside law. Why some of them are not chairman of landowner clans in Angore. The idea process eliminated, filtered them away, and they're no longer there.
They say this is the proper beneficiary identification and ILG formation, which is a pathway for flow of benefits. They are calling on the government to fund this very important process.
Used by date blows, the money is up. That 12 million was supposed to be used to participate in the early works. So, court working gonna early works and finish now.
Angore contributes 7% of the total gas contributed to the PNG LNG project. Angore landowners did not take part in business spin-offs because of court battles amongst themselves.
Pablo, Tripla, Wallet, Mibla, Sudan also it's an indication that we are united, Mibla Fem, that money by one blah half, one blah basket, one Mibla by this side and by one map, Mibla by this side, by Sundown controlling, Mibla by this side, one business venture. There's money in our land and go inside.
With the completion of the first part of the identification process, the next is issuing of ILG certificates. Under the project agreement, the landowners will benefit through royalties, free carry, BDG, IDG and high-impact projects. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
As rental prices are increasing and land becoming scarce in Port Moresby, people are making use of any land available. A piece of land being occupied is the Old Turf Club, portion 939 and portion 2173 in 9 Mile. Public servants and taxpayers, those serving in corporate business, are starting to occupy this state land. The concern is whether titles of the land they're occupying will be given to them.
Over the last 3 years, people have been moving into this area, building houses on land which they acquired through arrangement with the customary landowners. However, as the population increased, it was discovered that this was state land. The residents have formed an association to represent their concerns.
We made a mistake, but we did not allow that mistake to put us in a situation where we will regret. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So we came about to work with the lands department to say, look, we are able to organize ourselves and do things properly, the right way, according to law. So that's why that's what we are doing at the moment.
Apart from all the uncertainties, and since this is not a planned residential setting, the residents have been struggling to provide basics like water and electricity. Those working have to travel every afternoon using their resources to look for water.
But as they do can look at government, you look at me blows and plenty of me blow public servant comes up in Jetland Island ground. Nonga tablo me blow settle na, me blow rent lol get up go on nonga now. Me blow thing was some ground and stop nothing na me blow like stop in Jet na come but still all like moving me yet.
Recently, the water project funded by the Mosby Northeast Office has reached this community.
M1 pla big pla need we mi pla sa karan wara lo karblo mi pla karan wara lo backside mi pla sa go round lo pining wara samla ta mot sa abuse mi pla but you make him loga mem you make him big pla something na mi pla talk thank you
na mi appeal the Northeast member Honorable Labiama, you suppose you can make it your business to make sure that people of Papua New Guinea, we have the right to be here. So Mipla can be part and parcel of the development of this nation.
This association has applied for the title of this land through the Lands Department. If granted, more than 400 blocks will be available and preference will be given to those already residing there.
The Department of Works has announced the start of the second trench road project for the Highlands region. This sees the construction and sealing of the Mendi Tambul Road, maintenance on Mendi Koroba, Kotna Lampram, Nipa Abua and Halimbu Nogoli. Road contracts and details of the road projects were announced and signed at the Government House this morning.
Government House was busy this morning with the signing of a national corridor highway and other road links between Hela, Southern and Western Highlands provinces. The first road contract signed was the Mendi Tambul Road, a road that existed in the colonial days, and after 40 years the government wants this road be a national highway. The road project will cost 167 million kina, while Kotba and Lapram Road 79 million kina.
A lack of attention over the last 30-40 years. But I'd like to commend the government to see real economic corridors that will impact the nation in terms of economic activities.
For the Hela people, road maintenance and sealing for Nipa, Ambua and Halimbu Nongoli at a total cost of 275 million kina. Works Minister Francis Awesa says a new policy to be implemented in all these road projects is the 50% subcontracting.
It's a new policy now, and we're starting to implement on this one. So local contractors will partner Ketes, partner Kovac, and that's a policy.
The Department of Works will supervise and ensure that all specifications are followed with fixed contracts, zero variations and proper engineering standards. The island's leaders say no unnecessary claims will be entertained.
We have signed an agreement with council, so they can just put the bulldozer in and do it.
That is the only way we will open up this country, where 98% of the people are living at the back or far away, and they need this road.
Upon completion, all these roads will stretch over 800 kilometers and will connect the people of Hela, Henga, Southern and Western Highlands. All the roads are funded through the Asian Development Bank loans and the national government. The first Trach ADB project completed is the Mendi Kandep and Laikam Pogera roads. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
And now to the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3485 US in the interbank market today. At Bank South Pacific, the kina was buying $0.3410 US, 0.4833 Australian dollars, 0.3016 euro, and 40.50 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, cocoa and copra closed the day lower while coffee closed higher. Palm oil closed lower while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed 236 points higher, the ASX closed 103 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 187 points higher as well. Among stories after the break, climate change advocate walking thousands of kilometers to raise awareness. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Papua New Guinea's unique and traditional features can be marketed overseas. This was evident at the Early Childcare and Development Workshop that saw the production of materials for children and caregivers. These materials, jointly produced by the Education Department and UNICEF, will be used internationally.
Early childhood development is the key to a full and productive life of a child and to the progress of a nation. It's a critical stage of development that forms the foundation for children's future well-being and learning. At the Madang workshop, this was the focus. Artists came together to finalize draft communication materials that were developed in 2014 after they were reviewed overseas. Key creative artists finalized print books, posters, radio, television and animation spots under the supervision of UNICEF consultant Barbara Koloki.
Out of your dedications and out of your full devotion, they all have come superb. The messages with PNG's unique and traditional features,
All in one is to deliver the simple message to children, including children with special needs. UNICEF was impressed with the quality work produced, centered on communication for children through a holistic approach.
I am really happy to see the product have really shown the really full understanding of the overall holistic aspect of the early childhood development.
Moses Saraki from the Madang Provincial Education Division thanked artists for their contribution to nation building. What he wants to see is for these materials be fully developed.
It is now going to be between the Department of Education and the UNICEF to make sure that the materials that we are now producing will have to be used for the early childhood education.
The workshop was hailed a success and will continue in future to ensure Papua New Guinea materials are used internationally. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The opposition has raised concerns on what it claims is excessive spending by the government outside the priority areas. Opposition leader Don Polia says the government must seriously consider advice from the central bank. He added that the recent acquisition of 400 million kina from Bank South Pacific for National Capital District roads at this time of economic instability is unhealthy.
To building those roads.
The opposition leader says the country's financial rating has dropped from B+ to B- and the foreign exchange has dropped from around 9 billion kina to 2 billion kina this year. Recently, the governor of the Bank of Papua New Guinea advised government to spend within budget on priority areas. But Polia says despite knowing that the country's economy is facing a downturn, the government continues to spend outside the priority areas. He said the recent announcement that the government has acquired a loan of 400 million kina from Bank South Pacific with an interest rate of 6.5% at this time of economic recession is not healthy for the economy. The loan was secured for the construction of 5 NCD roads. Says the government must not use APEC as a reason to borrow more and spend in the city.
Just 1 or 2 governors and 1 or 2 or 3 ministers. With the Prime Minister, they are running this country's economy down by making decisions that we have seen.
He says development projects like roads have to be equally distributed to resource-rich provinces as well.
They continue to spend money left, right, center in just one part of Papua New Guinea.
Polia calls on the government to act on the advice from the Central Bank, the National Research Institute and other financial institutions to get the country's economy on track. Quintan Alom, National EMTV News.
The Kokopo War Museum in East New Britain Province may not be as popular as the Kokoda track, but it holds some of the oldest relics of the Second World War's Battle of the Pacific. The historical center provides a stark reminder to many about the war fought between the Japanese and the Allied forces 73 years ago. Edwin Fidelis reports.
At an alley inside the Kokopo War Museum lies some of the relics of the Second World War. The 1942 to 1945 Battle of the Pacific brought to the shores of Papua New Guinea some of the most sophisticated armaments at that time. Most of them were destroyed during counterattacks. Their remnants were retrieved and put on display here since 1992. One such was the famous B-17E US bomber aircraft, dubbed Naughty But Nice, was used by the US Air Force during air raids against the Japanese in the Pacific. It was shot down by the Japanese in East New Britain. Its cockpit was retrieved and also put on display here.
Most of these ones here were from the Second World War, mainly 80 to 85% of the materials here from the Japanese materials that were left after the Second World War.
East New Britain has a rich history of the Second World War. The Battle of the Pacific fought between the Japanese and the Allied forces left behind these artilleries. Most of them, like this 7-ton Japanese tank, its deployment to some of the impassable terrains in the province remained a mystery.
All throughout the Gazelle Peninsula, there are other similar types here, cannon launchers and all this that were left by the Japanese.
The chairman of the Kokopo Museum, Samson Kakai, says plans are underway to remake the old historical center as the main tourism attraction in East New Britain as the province gears up to become the tourism hub of PNG.
Rabaul is a tourism port for the cruise sector. Normally each year we receive on average 18 to 20 cruise ships per year.
After 7 decades, and some of these remnants of war are still left in the open and exposed to the elements. Most of them are slowly corroding, others still remained intact, but most of them still remained undiscovered. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Climate change advocate Latin Drihin has set ecological footprints by foot to address the effects of climate change in the country. He walked over 5,000 kilometers from Medang to Leh, addressing climate change issues such as natural disasters with communities. Eric Harupma reports.
Latin Drihin is a climate change advocate from Manus province who started his climate change campaign in 2012 at Bogia in Medang province, all the way by foot to Leh in the Morobe province. Most of his campaigns were on foot as he believed communities can reach out easily with information on how they can mitigate or adapt with the impacts of climate change. Latin said the purpose of this work is to promote peace with nature without having compromising effects on the environment. Upon donating a pair of boots to Latin as an ambassador to the organization, KK Kingston sales manager Matthew Caleb said, "These pair of boots will assist Drihin to set more ecological footprints." The climate change advocate says after having wider consultation with the Office of Climate Change and understanding the concepts of climate change, this gave him the drive to do environmental awareness across the country. He said climate change is a natural phenomenon that has predicament effects experienced around the globe. Some of the impacts include sea level rise, flooding, tsunami, and the most devastating effects of frost and drought.
Climate change, it's about our ignorance, our attitude towards the environment.
These impacts have had considerable effects on the food security, where food crops have been affected by prolonged drought and frost experience in the islands. He said in order to combat these effects produced by the harsh climatic conditions, people must be resilient to the issues of climate change. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports coming up next after these short messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The most popular sport in Papua New Guinea, Rugby League, has seen the growth of women's participation in the code in recent years. With the number of women and girls showing interest in the code, it's now being used as a tool to educate and empower women throughout the country.
At this year's Prime Minister's 13 match in Port Moresby, a women's match between the Southern Region and Highlands was played as a curtain raiser for the event. Women's Rugby League has been growing in popularity in recent years, and women throughout the country have embraced the code. Kathy Niap, an NRL PNG development officer, said it is becoming more acceptable in the community to see women take part in the sport.
You know, we've passed those days. Now they see us as, they don't say anything, they just let us pass by. Or when they see us playing, they'll be like, they don't do anything like that. So yeah, we've passed those challenging days where we had to really hold on to rugby league, and now it's like it's normal to the community that we live in.
Being able to play rugby league has also given women the confidence to be seen as equal by playing a sport perceived to be male-dominated.
What time we play, go no look at me play. Mix yes, some la good line him number some la good person come up miss. Alama masters me play rugby league na go through joining Australian rugby league come out development officer to that time.
With more girls showing interest in the code, they call on the Papua New Guinea Rugby League to give them enough exposure to see them be able to compete in an international event.
Me like bisa manggil side rugby league, the sports minister blah. They must make sure me blah rugby league girls must go on, move on. We must start in 5 years. 5 years no but me blah no go overseas trip. Minus a while me go say me blah girls me fit. Saturday me blah say me go da big manggil rugby league. The sports minister can start me say me fit me go overseas match.
Rugby league, being the country's #1 sport, is a great avenue and is currently used through the League Belong Life program as an educational tool and to create awareness on issues affecting people throughout the community. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
Goroka will play host to the Besta Cup Highlands leg at the National Sports Institute from the 9th to the 11th this month. PNGFA Competitions Manager Simon Koima said participating centres wishing to take part must be a current member or associate member of the PNG Football Association.
Highlands region will be the last Besta Cup tournament before the finals in Leh. Momase region kicked off their tournament with Sitem coming out on top, beating Leh Football Association. The NGI region held theirs in Manus, with the hosts victorious in the end. Port Moresby successfully hosted the Southern region leg of the Besta Cup, which ended on the 21st of September. This year, PNGFA expects all Highlands provinces to field both men's and women's teams. It was also made clear that any team that failed to comply will not be allowed to participate in the tournament. Goroka Football urged other associations to come prepared, with the finalists advancing to the Besta Cup final. A deadline has been set for all teams to pay their registration fees before the 5th of October. Elijah Lavet, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back. AFL PNG continues to roll out its development programs by creating pathways for young AFL players in the country. The Queensland State Championships and South Pacific Cup are avenues where prospective players are given a glimpse of a higher level of competition. Scholar Sengi reports.
AFL PNG's commitment to developing the code in the country remains evident in the number of school-aged children participating in its development program New Kick every year. Following the rollout of New Kick around the country, the staging of the annual regional championships provides an avenue to feed its academy. The Queensland State Championships and South Pacific Cup are pathways to set prospective Binatangs for further scouts into Queensland's AFL programs and further strengthen sports ties with Australia. Kelly Kaugler, Peter Lavong, Kitaha Siwe and Ben Tirang are among the few who have come through the ranks of AFL PNG's Talent Pathway program. Under the watchful eyes of AFL PNG's coaching staff, a majority of these prospects move on to play in higher levels of competition both within the country and abroad. Although the Kurakums and Flames have not been participating in major regional tournaments in the last 3 years due to funding, AFL PNG is firm on equipping all players with the necessary skills and rules of the game by running a women's division in major town competitions. Scholar Sengi, National EMTV Sports.
Mai Koime, former sprinter and the current record holder in PNG and the Pacific for the women's 100-meter sprint, was among a number of Moresby South residents who received awards from Sports Minister Justin Techenko today. They were recognized for their services to the community and the country. Rafaela Kawore reports.
Senior citizens from Port Moresby South Electorate were recognized by the Minister of Moresby South Electorate, Justin Tachenko. All were awarded for their distinguished service to their respective communities, many of whom carried on as unseen heroes. Thousands gathered to witness the unseen heroes. Former athlete Mai Koime was recognized for her distinguished service to her community and the country.
Getting this medal, it's a great boost for me, and I will continue on to help the community and also the little kids that live around where I live. And you know, there is more to give out there than to just start off and stop. So this is a great boost for me and a moral that I will continue on.
Among the recipients was shooting sensation Winifred Sauna from Wanigila village. The young lady among the elders from the Wanigila village was grateful to get a medal.
So exciting, which I didn't expect to get, but then to come and receive a medal like this, it's so exciting. So yeah, I have no words to say, but just so happy with our minister.
Other senior members that received awards were Jilon Auma, Glenda Kwavali, Dea Muri, Efata Samuel, and Mr. and Mrs. Morea were also recognized.
Happy to be recognized for my services, but I also acknowledge that there are many others who deserve this award. Many who have contributed with dedication and passion for Moresby South Electorate, especially those in the community. For some of us who move around in circles where we do get recognition.
Turhouse said it was great to see what the Minister for Moresby South is doing, and it's the first of its kind to see the government recognize citizens from the Moresby South Electorate. Rafaela Kaure, National EMTV Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The weather details up next.
Trukai Sports.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Southern region, Port Moresby cloudy periods, Daru fine and windy, Alatau and Popondetta mostly fine, and Kerema expecting cloudy periods. In the Momase region, Ley expecting cloudy with brief showers, Medeng mostly fine, Wewak and Vainimo expecting cloudy periods. And the New Guinea Islands, other centers fine weather with Buka expecting showers. In the Highlands region, all centers morning fog with brief showers. The way it is this Thursday, 1st of October 2015, I'm Vanessa Knight. On behalf of the news, have a good evening.